Hi, and welcome to this presentation on conciseness, an exercise in reducing the wordiness of your essays. Take just a couple of seconds and read through these sentences to see if you can find out what's wrong with them. Hopefully you've noticed that there's extra words in each of these sentences, a lot of redundancies, words that maybe mean the same thing that don't need to be there. And so this is an exercise in getting rid of those extra words that just don't have to be there. In a couple of these examples, some things that happen over and over. A lot of times people will say that I look up into the sky, or I'm going down to, or I'm going up to. Usually those can be eliminated because if you're looking at the sky, you're already, the idea is that you're already looking up because you're looking at the sky. You wouldn't look down at the sky. And so including that up is just unnecessary. In the next sentence, we see the adjective or the adverb, vary. And is there a difference between being grateful and being very grateful? Probably not, so we can eliminate the very in that sentence. And then when we get to this one, the exact same, lots of times people say that, and it's redundant. We don't need to say that, so the same bar stool was still vacant probably is just as effective. And then again, here we have really, which is, they'll call that a qualifier, but it is there a difference, I guess, between really mad and mad? Probably, but maybe we just need to use a different word for mad to get that point across. All right, so there are 6 ways to cut wordiness. Number 1 is to use strong action-packed verbs, and hopefully you had a good handle of how to do that in the verb presentation. When you use strong action-packed words or verbs, for example, you get rid of the linking verb. So here's a linking verb is. We don't want that in there anymore. How do we get it out? Well, we can replace it with a verb that's much stronger. So instead of Jim is a composition teacher, we change it into Jim teaches composition at NICC, which makes that a stronger, tighter sentence, eliminates some words, but also is definitely more descriptive because it's a better word than is. The next example, we have writers have to revise for conciseness. This have to, we can change that to must revise, which makes it better. We get rid of the to, which is an infinitive, and the have. So here we have writers must revise. Good writers do the job of revising. Again, it's wordy. There's 4 extra words in there. We can just easily say that with good writers revise for conciseness, and that's just as effective. All right, number 2, if we can, we should cut who, which, and that from writing. In that first example of Mark Twain, it says Mark Twain, who is a famous American writer, wrote Tom Sawyer in 1876. And by just eliminating the word who, it means the same thing, says the same thing. We just have that extra word in there. So getting rid of those words whenever possible. The second example uses the word that. And again, you don't need that word in there. You can just simply eliminate it. It's an extra word that in these 2 cases doesn't add anything to the sentence. We want to avoid wasted word groups like I think, I feel, in my opinion, and I believe. And you've probably been told not to include I think or I believe in papers because it makes them stronger, which it does. It also, eliminating those will reduce the wordiness of your sentences. So it kind of has a double purpose. It does tighten your writing style, but it also makes it more forceful as well. So you get rid of words while at the same time making a more forceful argument. So instead of I think that the Cardinal should win the pennant, the Cardinal should win the pennant. Eliminate some words, and again, it's much stronger. And then the next example uses in my opinion, and all you have to do with these most of the time is just to eliminate them completely. Number 4 is avoiding repetition of the same word or idea. And so in order to do that, in this first example, it says, in my opinion, I feel. We can get rid of all of those words. because in my opinion and I feel are the same thing. They're also, if you reference the previous slide, they're also, those extra words that aren't necessary, kind of like I believe or I think. And so to just start the sentence with business writing should be required of all college students is the best option for that sentence. Number 5, kind of talked about these in some of the examples, but to get rid of unnecessary adverbs, like definitely, just, quite, really, and very. And again, there's probably nothing wrong with them, but just to eliminate and to tighten your style a little bit, if you can try to avoid those words, it'll make it that much better. And so really enjoyed, in that first sentence changes into loved, which is a different word, and it eliminates one word that you don't need in there. The second example, very smart, and instead we use the word intelligence. So it's kind of tightening your style, getting more precise word choice, and then it also eliminates wordiness at the same time. And number 6 are these dummy subjects, like there is, there are, here is, here are, it was, it is. Really, you can just eliminate those altogether and just start the sentence without them. So as you see in that first sentence, there are 6 ways. Revise that to say, I have found 6 ways. That second sentence, it is apparent, and just get rid of that completely to say that William Shakespeare wrote brilliantly. So lots of ways that you can reduce wordiness. There are some other ways to cut deadwood, and these take a little bit of work. Number 1 is to write an active voice. And I'm not going to get into this a whole lot, but if you can notice the difference, when you are writing in active voice is where the people or the things, the subjects of the sentence, are actually doing the action. And so if you look at example number 2, so where we have the research paper, a research paper will be written by the students in this course. This is passive voice, because you have the research paper doing the action, and really the research paper isn't doing anything. Who or what will be doing the action is the students, and so we make those the subject of the sentence. So students, in this course will write a research paper. Instead of the research paper will be written by, anytime you have by in there, it's probably a passive voice. And so to change that into active voice, so to make the subject do something, makes that an active voice. Number 2, reduce clauses to phrases and phrases to single words. And so you're just making things shorter. And if you look at your paragraphs and your sentences, there are probably lots of ways where you can reword things in order to make them shorter. So because we found no one in the CEO's office, we left a note. And what we did here was we just got rid of the because. So finding no one in the CEO's office, we left a note. Doesn't change the meaning, but it does reduce a couple of words. Also, what it will do is give you some sentence variety. So, starting and reducing this clause to just a phrase introduces a new writing style or a new sentence structure. Stephen King, who is a fine novelist, published another book this year. Here we get rid of the who is, so that's one thing we can reduce and make it in a positive. Stephen King, a fine novelist, published another book this year. And here we are reducing phrases to single words. So instead of in a conscientious way, we reduce that to just conscientiously, the adverb. Number 3, we can combine sentences when the first word or reference of a second sentence repeats the last word of the previous sentence. And this doesn't happen a whole lot because a lot of us eliminate this just because it doesn't sound right. So for example, in that first example, it says for junior high, I went to Jefferson. Jefferson was a whole new experience for me. So if you combine those 2 sentences into one, you get a little tighter sentence and less wordy. I attended Jefferson Junior High, which became a whole new experience for me. So instead of having 2 sentences, you've reduced it to 1, and you've reduced the words. Second sentence has 2 sentences referencing the bike. And here you get rid of that second reference and you just make that into 1 sentence. All right, number 4, getting rid of fillers like the reason is, because, or the thing that I'm looking forward to is. Again, you can get rid of those. So take a look at the beginnings of your sentences. Are there places where you can get rid of extra words? So just start with we are studying. I am looking forward to attending a Celine Dion concert. So getting rid of all of these extra words can help to really make your paper that much better. Remove ing words whenever possible. So here we have a helping verb, was, with a main verb, editing, and notice the ing here. So what we can do is get rid of this. The administrative assistant was editing the letters of her supervisor. Get rid of was editing and change just the tense to edited. It doesn't change the meaning of the sentence in any way, and so it's an okay revision to make. And do be careful, because you can't always do that. Sometimes you need the was or the are in front of the verb in order for it to make sense according to tense. So do be careful of that. But a lot of times you can reduce these ing words. And that is it. Your task after you finish watching this, there is a quiz that you will find in Brightspace, but I would also encourage you to really go back into your narrative paper and take a look at places where you can revise for conciseness. Thank you.